It follows a gang-related shooting in Queens on Saturday.
This was, as I can most accurately describe it, is a brazen, coordinated attack, for a lack of a better word. That's a recurring theme that keeps happening. That's gang members, that's guns, scooters being used, masks, unintended targets getting hit. This is unacceptable in our streets of New York City, and it has to stop.
The incident left at least 10 people injured. Most of them were innocent bystanders. New York City Councilman Joe Borelli joins us now to discuss. And Joe, I'm wondering where the outrage is on this morning. I mean, this is a mass shooting. 10 people were shot, 7 of them innocent bystanders. And your colleagues, it just seems like there's this level of tolerance right now happening surrounding this behavior.
Right. Look, there only seems to be outrage when it's somewhere tourists frequent, whether it's, a particular intersection in Manhattan where there's shops and stores, whether it's Times Square. That's where you get the outrage from the public. When it's these type of crimes that occur nightly, I mean, there were 18 people shot on Saturday in New York City. When it's these type of crimes that occur nightly around the city in the lesser known parts, you don't hear about it. But you're right in what you said, Carly. The Democrats that are in charge in this state have changed the bar on the tolerance level of what we can accept as far as violence in New York City. There's always been crime in New York City. We have to be honest about that. But Democrats changed the level of what we will now tolerate. And we have these massive gang shootings, 10 people that look like something you'd see in the show Narcos or something you'd see from a foreign country. And it's unacceptable. And until these radical left Democrats are out of office, I'm fearful that we won't see a change in direction.
Okay, so this is gang-related, and there were 40 shell casings found. That's no small number there. Do you think that the Democratic governors like Cuomo are taking this realistically when they talk about trying to get crime under control?
No, I mean, Governor Cuomo just yesterday announced a midnight basketball program and a jobs program to combat this. I mean, these are people who gave us bail reform, one of the most disastrous pieces of legislation in the last 10 years in New York City. So they don't treat these people like the career criminals that they are. These aren't isolated incidents. What these two guys do for a living is fight over turf and control of drugs in certain neighborhoods. That's their job. No basketball league or job program is going to replace that for them, and acting like it is being a very unserious leader for a very serious problem in the city. Yeah,
there were at least 7 shooting incidents in New York City this weekend, and at least 18 people were either killed or wounded. Councilman, how do you feel about Eric Adams? He's expected to be the next mayor of New York City, and he ran on an anti-crime platform, but I've talked to some police officers who say they're not so sure that he's going to make any significant changes. What are your thoughts?
Look, he's going to be up for re-election if he wins. He's going to have to appeal to the radical left. Did he talk the talk, and did he sound a lot better on crime than the overwhelming majority of the other candidates in the race? Absolutely. But I hope he follows through. I hope he doesn't go back and start seeing his own national profile in the mirror, his own re-election coming down the pike, and start pandering to these radical left politicians that got us to this point in the first place, where we have Hollywood-style gang shootouts on our streets.
Okay, and then I want to get to this. There was, so far this year in New York City, there's been more than 1,000 people, actually 1,056 shot this year. We have 4 months left in the year, give or take. And, do you think this is going to get any better, or do you just foresee it getting worse?
I think it will get better. Crime has always peaked and valleyed in the city. And finally, we do have some people really getting aggravated in the outer boroughs, places that usually elect radical far left candidates. They've started to pull back and elect moderate Democrats, which is certainly somewhat better. But the reality is, this is going to be a problem for the foreseeable future. And until we change our entire perception of the relationship between policing and career criminals, I don't think we'll see that much of a pendulum swing back in the good direction.
Yeah, we're just playing video of like these gang attacks and kids getting hurt, and it really just feels like in cities across the country, we're starting to enter what it must have felt like in the 90s. And back then, Rudy Giuliani came in, cleaned up the city with stop and frisk, but stop and frisk has been so politicized, I can't imagine it would happen again. again. So you say that it could get better because of the season, but what's going to happen, and how do you expect this to get better overall if those hard-on-crime policies like stop and frisk won't happen because of the current political environment that we're in?
Yeah, I mean, just take an example of this gang shooting. Let's just say, hypothetically, the police did a great job and they stopped these two guys on a moped with an illegal gun prior to the shooting. Those two guys would have been arrested and they would have been out on bail, thanks to bail reform, before breakfast was even served on Rikers Island. So it's almost impossible to say that even if we increase our police presence, even if we increase our police detective squads and patrols, that this will result in a safer city thanks to the bail reform that just lets these people out willy-nilly, seemingly.
Yeah, I think it starts with bail reform for sure, especially in New York.
Absolutely. Joe, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.